Hi, my name is Bo. Today we are going to cook savory mince. Before we go through the recipe, I'm going to explain you what sort of ingredient we have with this savory mince. So we have a mince meat for about 500 grams, which is like half the kilo. And we also have a dry herb. And a dry herb, most of the dry herbs has got a different ingredients. So you need to find something that you think is good with this type of mince meat or this type of dish. So normally it's a dry herb, oregano, basil, and a parsley, and some of the dry herb has got harsh herb, which has got like rosemaries and thymes and things like that. And then we also got a tin of green pea and a carrot, and then we got one onion and a aromatic part of the dish. If you want to, you can also add garlic into it. And then we got tin tomato, one tin tomato. This is a complete recipe, but instead of using a tin tomato, if you choose to use fresh tomato, it's completely fine. And in terms of cooking equipment, we need to have a warm pot and a wooden spoons. And then salt and pepper, oil, and then a few tablespoons to taste, if you like. So before we go through the recipe, what we are going to do, I'm going to put my pot on a low heat. So what we are going to do with the onions, going to show you how we are going to dice this onion. You're going to run through the onion pretty much all the way down, but not going to slice completely, because the idea for this, we are not going to slice the onion. The idea is we're going to dice it. So dicing, you need to leave it intact right at the bottom of the onions. Otherwise, all these layers of onions are going to separate on the chopping board, so which means it's difficult for you to dice it all together. And then once you slice it, all you need to do and put across with a knife, and then hold it all together nice and intact. Run your knife, right? Slowly. You can either use your knife like this, or you can just go like this. Either way, whatever is comfortable for you. First few times when you try like this, it's always going to be difficult, but after some time, the more you use it, the better you get. So which means is that you get more comfortable, you get more confident with the knife. It's easier. It's not really that difficult, as you see. And also when you use knife, so we always says against the knuckles. The blade has to be against the knuckles. So your fingertips goes inside. So when your fingertips goes inside, even if you don't look at the blade, you know where exactly your knife goes, because it's the knife blade goes against the knuckles. So that's what you need to do. Once you cut it and slice it, all you need to do is dice it. So dicing take time, dice it nicely so that all the onion cook absolutely nice and evenly. When you cut the onion nice and small side or nice and even side, so when you cook it, easier for you to judge. So what we are going to do, lift this up instead of bring the pot over there, or you can just bring the pot here and then put all the onion in there. Rather than, carrying all the onions like this and putting in the pot, sometimes they get dangerous, especially if you got kids and some other member of family around. Okay, so we need to cook this slightly gently. As I said before, it's very important to control the heat. And once onion is cooked, and what we are going to do, we are going to brown the mince meat. So this is savory mince. So, basically, one of those things, you can make it, but you can serve it with any type of thing. So, basically, in the Foodbank recipes, you see, the photo is with a slice of bread. That's exactly what we are going to do today. So as you see, the onion is cooking. So what we are going to do, basically for this, I'm not really going to get a lot of colors on the onions. I'm going to saute it nice and shiny. Most of the times when you saute it, it's good to cook on a slightly low heat. Onion is nice and soft. What we are going to do, mince meat. Any type of mince meat, this is the beef mince, by the way. Recipe got beef mince. If you like to use lamb mince, absolutely fine. And if you want to use chicken mince, it's also fine, but flavor is obviously going to be different. And when you cook this mince meat, it's very important right from the beginning. You need to break down. And also, when you cook the mince meat, it's good to cook, cook on a high heat, so that you get the color. And the color meaning you are creating or developing the flavor into the actual dish. So once you cook this mince meat, it's difficult to break it down. So when it's raw, you can basically break the mince into apart, so that you don't really see much of the lumps. And part of this recipe, we also got dry herbs. So dry herb, if you want to, and a lot of people, when you cook the mince meat, you can add it together, cook it early. Or a lot of people, once you add the tomato, then you put the dry herb and cook it for a long time. But if you are in a rush, if you really want to cook it as a quick meal, and I reckon it's good to put it at early stage, so that you can draw out maximum flavor. But if you have a time, and if you want to cook it on a low heat for a long time, it doesn't really matter. You can keep it at the last minute and then put it with the tomato, and then cook it for a long time. So entirely up to you. And so particularly when you use dry herbs. But fresh herbs is most of the time, so you use it as a garnish right at the end. And with this, is also you can add a few bay leaves. Bay leaves plus actual ingredient is safe. It's very simple. We got a tin, green pea, and a carrot. That's it. But if you want to, you can also add celery into it. Celery is very, very good. You can also add zucchini into it. So my mince meat is cooked nicely. As you see, it's a brownish color. At the same time, at the bottom of the pot, you see all this brownish color. Once you get that, we are going to add this tomato in. Once you add the tomato in, and mix it through, so that the liquid or water from the tomato gonna pick up all the sediment right at the bottom of the pot. That sediment is basically flavor, right? So anything that we cook, you need to create a kind of flavor. Flavor is basically comes from the meat, and the flavor comes from the dressing, flavor comes from the sauces, flavor comes from the acidity, whether it's a vinegar or whether it's a lemon juice, or flavor comes from the sugar and some bit of a heat. So depends on what you use in the ingredient, and then try to create flavor that's suitable for that particular dish. The mince meat is pretty much ready. It's cooked nice and thick. I'm going to add these vegetables. My idea of cooking vegetables is any dish, whether it's a fresh or tin, particularly with the tin, vegetables, it's already been cooked. All you need to do is bind it together. Bind it together, reheat it. But if you're cooking a fresh ingredient, it's also good to cook a minimum. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you eat something, the vegetable is a bit crunchy, it's a bit raw flavor, but it's better for your health. The vegetable, the more you cook it, the more color you lose. The more you cook it, more nutrition you lose. So at the end of the day, we eat something to nourish our body, to get protein, to stay healthy. Eating is not just to fill up your tummy, to stay nice and healthy. So when you cook a lot of things, they lose the nutrition, so you control it. You control to preserve it, right? So as you see, such an easy dish, to be very honest, is like a few ingredients and a warm pot meals, and you can get done everything within 15 minutes. As you see, it's ready to go. And one thing that I would like to say is that like this type of dish, I always say this, whether it's a stew or whether like this savory mincemeat, whether it's a curry, like this type of dish, you make a really nice things. If you eat straight away, most of the times, not much flavor into it. But if you leave it overnight, especially if you choose to use a lot of spices into it, and then the next day when you reheat up, the flavor bind together a lot better, and it's absolutely brilliant. Especially it's Indian cooking, curries and things like that. You hardly make a curry and then serve it straight away. No, so all the sauces and everything is already prepared. The reason for that is because you give enough time for the sauce and the meat marination and things like that to get the maximum flavor out of it. So like this also is, if you leave it cool it down, if you leave it in the fridge for overnight, and the next day when you heat it, flavor is different. And especially we use dry herbs into it. So dry herb, you need to give more time to bring out the flavor. Fresh herb, if you cook it too much, you lose the flavor, you lose the freshness. But dry herbs is the dry, meaning you need to reconstitute to release the flavor back into the food. Alright? Okay, so this dish is ready anyway. So what we are going to do today, just like the recipe from the food bank, we are going to serve it on the toast. So, I show you how we are going to plate it out.
This has been a Cabana production.